Against the Ropes podcast.
Contra las cuerdas. Against the Ropes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast, Gio Garcia here, alongside Christian Mosqueda. Christian, we're back. The king of the jungle. You saw what happened. You saw what happened last night. We just want to give you guys a quick, immediate reaction. We don't usually do these weekend podcasts, but you know what? We had to. It was Canelo weekend, the face of boxing. Everybody's talking about this fight. All eyes on this fight. All eyes on Canelo. All eyes on Charlo. You saw everybody there in attendance. You know, Canelo's biggest fan, Floyd, was there. This guy, man, this guy's making an appearance every single show, Chris. This guy right here, he was there in attendance as well. He was there watching. Everybody was there, but let's get right into it. Like I said, quick reaction. Everybody, welcome to the show. Chris, immediate initial reaction on your end as to what we saw last night between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Jermell Charlo.
First of all, props to Canelo. I think there was no doubt that people knew he was going to win this fight, but people wanted to see if Canelo was going to grow old overnight or if there was going to be any signs of him slowing down. And it was vintage Canelo. It was classic Canelo, just dominant. It was that Canelo that ran through that 168 division. Charlo, good fighter, but definitely not on the same level as Canelo. He had no answers. I know we'll talk a little bit about your boy now, Terence Crawford, with that tweet, but pretty much said what that match was. There was no resistance from Charlo. Canelo on his A game, looking great. Just amazing.
Yeah, man. Look, we came here obviously a few days ago. Most of us predicted Canelo to win. I mentioned that I didn't think Charlo was going to throw many punches in this fight once he felt Canelo's power, but I didn't expect him to go down like this, Chris. Literally no resistance, as Terence Crawford said, and we'll read those tweets in a bit, but Charlo didn't show as much. He looked content even in the post-fight interview. If you guys haven't watched that, the press conference, he even mentioned, hey, I'm happy, I'm proud of myself. Not sure what he's proud of. I'm sure he's going to be very happy with that paycheck, but to me, his stock goes down so much. You know, a lot of people were mentioning him as one of the guys who gets disrespected when talking about pound for pound list, right? He was obviously undisputed at 154, and a lot of people, didn't have him up there. With this, definitely, I think he's off any of those lists. Canelo made it look easy. Didn't even exert a lot of energy. Didn't throw many punches. I mean, he was able to drop Charlo there in the 7th, hurt him a little bit. Charlo survived, but I do gotta say I'm disappointed that Charlo didn't put up a better fight. But Canelo looked good. He looked slim. He looked sharp. He looked quick. And he said no one beats this version of Canelo, Chris.
Right. And that's the question we wanted to be answered from. Of course, we know he's a slender guy compared to, those 160, 168 guys, but he's big in frame. So, we were hoping to get, at least, some answers, some resistance. We know that he doesn't throw a whole lot of punches, but, he fought too timid. He fought, like he was in survival mode, like he was scared, like he didn't believe in his abilities and his skills at that level. Like you mentioned, he was just happy to go the distance, and then it's almost like a participation kind of match where, like, hey, I'm gonna tap myself on the back just for being here, and that's not what you want, from a fighter. You want him to, at least land something. You don't have to win, a whole bunch of rounds, to get a moral victory, but you gotta add something. You can't just cruise to a distant survival mode. We understand it's easier said than done. They're the ones that are up there. They're the fighters. But I mean, again, for all that talk that they do, you want to see something more real.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions, right? What was going to be a moral victory? One of the questions that you posed last podcast, and I said, hey, if he's able to win 3-4 rounds, is a great night for him. He didn't do that. I didn't give him a single round. I know the judges, I think, gave him 1 or 2 rounds. I didn't think he did enough to win in any single round. He just didn't throw many punches, didn't land much, didn't make Canelo work at all in defense. He had some good left hooks. We expected that. That was the shot that I was calling for all night. Last podcast, too, I mentioned that's how he was able to hurt Castaño. Canelo did a good job hitting that left shoulder. Jermell looked uncomfortable every single second of this fight. Looked timid, didn't look confident, didn't listen to his corner. But according to him, he was proud of his work. So, I think a lot of us were scratching our heads after round 2, 3, 4, or 5, noticing that Charlo really wasn't doing much. And then his comments there, too, at the press conference, I was scratching my head. But, Canelo did what he does. He put on a show. I know a lot of people wanted him to get a knockout. They said he's fighting the smaller fighter. You saw the size difference there. Jermell, much bigger than Canelo. But, I think the power difference was very evident. Canelo able to push him back. Jermell doing a lot of hugging. Not sure why Jermell hugged him after the fight. I mean, he gave him 100 hugs during the fight. So I'm actually pretty surprised that the referee never warned him or deducted a point or anything, because he was literally hugging after every exchange. He made it boring at times. But like you said, there's levels to this. And Canelo's on another level. He warned Charlo. He told him, I'm just on a different level. You'll see on Saturday. And that's exactly what we saw. Big level disparity. I don't care what weight they fight in. I think it was always going to go down like this. All the trash talking over the years of both Charlos. Some people brought some of the clips back too, where Jermell was sitting ringside at one of the fights. I'm not sure what fight it was, but he was saying, man, I could beat this guy. Look, he gets tired. He's slow. He was telling his brother and other people, I can beat Canelo. But, all that talking didn't work. Easy work for Canelo, and we'll see what's next.
Yeah, and like you said, we talked about a moral victory for Jermell. I think I said something. If he went the distance, I would give him a little bit of props, just because we were expecting Canelo to knock him out. He knocked him down in the 7th round. But again, looking back now, even if you go the distance and you don't win a single round, I think I gave him 1, and that was like, okay, we'll give him that round. But it was, it kind of still, you're still not content. If you want to walk away with a moral victory, you have to win at least three rounds. You got to take the fight to Canelo. I think Jermell said that in the post-fight press conference. Like, he's like, I didn't throw enough. you didn't take enough chances. For me, a fight like Caleb Plant, who went out on the Shield, put up a valiant effort. He took the fight to Canelo at times. Just like Jarrell, he was outclassed, and he was, in the end knocked out. But at least for me, his stock went up because he tried to, at least go toe-to-toe with Canelo, and that's something that Jarrell just failed to do, to even attempt in this fight.
Chris, you don't even got to go that far back. John Ryder went out on his Shield. John Ryder had a broken nose and survived all 12, and he was able to fight back a little bit, So, that kind of brought me back to that too. Guys like Ryder, guys like Callum Smith, a lot of people here in the States were disrespecting them, calling them punching bags, calling them bums, but they put up a much better fight than Charlo did. Obviously, those guys are bigger guys, you can say, physically, but I think this didn't have to do anything with the physical aspect of things. I think it was mental. I think it had to do with heart, and Jermell showed zero heart. He called himself a lion. I think he was lying, Chris. I think he was lying. He showed zero heart. And as Big Bro says here, Jermell turned into a newborn cub, defenseless. It was proven he didn't belong in the P4P list. There's levels to this. And I think this is a good segue into, let's go ahead and read those Terence Crawford tweets. I know he had a lot to say. Chris, he got the biggest win of his career, and he's been going in on everyone. But real quickly, I'll go ahead and read them. We also posted them on Twitter and Instagram if you guys want to go in there and check them out. Just real quickly, he tweeted, Twin Charlo, you went out sad, didn't try to win. All you did was try to survive. You should be ashamed of yourself. He followed that up with, congratulations to Canelo. You made the so-called lion look like a baby cub. And then he also added, he said, okay, y'all, I'm over at Twin Charlo. He's no longer on my hit list. He went out there and lay down and let Canelo spank him like he was his daddy with no type of resistance, says Crawford. Man, talking that talk, Chris. He's saying Charlo's no longer on his radar. Charlo did mention Crawford in the presser and said he'd like to fight and all that.
Yeah, I agree with Terence. Obviously, you got to respect what Charlo did at 154. Unified the titles. He avenged one of those fights with Castaño, did it in impressive fashion. So he was getting up there in people's radars, and he was, flirting with the top 10 pound for pound. He was giving himself a case, but this one kind of just discounts him. But I agree with Terence. A fighter, shouldn't just like lay down and just, be happy to collect the paycheck or be happy just to, make it through without getting knocked out. You gotta. The fans are the ones that pay. I get it, your health and all that, but add a little something, man. Add a little sauce, and somebody like Terence Crawford. I feel like he would add more resistance. He might get knocked out in the process because he's a brave, fighter, and he's a proud fighter. But yeah, man, that's as a fighter, and as a fight fan, you want to see more. And so I agree with Terence Bud Crawford right now.
Hey, look, I think the narrative changed last night, Chris. I don't know if you got the same sense, the same sentiment. You were one of the ones that wanted to see that Canelo Crawford fight. You came out here and talked about it after the Spence fight, after Crawford started entertaining that. I said all along that it's not going to happen, that it's a joke, that it shouldn't happen. I feel like the narrative has changed now, seeing what Canelo did to Jermell, who's 6 feet tall, weighed in probably 175 on fight night. He said he was 172, 173 the morning of. That's a big dude that Canelo toyed around with in that ring. I didn't give Crawford a chance to begin with, and I think this was evidence of that. There's weight classes for a reason. Even Charlo, like I said, being 6 feet tall, coming in at around 175 pounds wasn't enough. If you look at the guys who have given Canelo trouble recently, it's the big guys. It's Bivol, it's Kovalev. Those fights weren't easy, obviously. So I don't know. I think people will stop talking about the Crawford-Canelo. Not sure if you feel the same way, Chris.
Yeah, this is this. We were making a one question answered. You know, obviously you talked about it, the weight disparity. How would a Charlo fare against a bigger opponent? You know, obviously you saw it. Like Canelo looked like a rhino. He looked like a bull, super strong, super stocky. Hurt him in moments. He hurt him enough where Charlo didn't want to, you know, engage, didn't want to take risks. You know, kind of just kept moving to the side. And again, that's that power disparity, that size disparity between weight classes. So, man, even Terence Crawford's ability skills, but the size difference, the power difference. I can see that fight kind of being like Khan Canelo, where, you know, obviously that boxing skill is going to favor the smaller, quicker fighter, but eventually you feel like Canelo's going to catch him with something big. And something that, you know, that the commentators talked about was that chin of Canelo. Canelo has one of the best chins in all of boxing. You know, Jermell has good power. He's got good power for a 154, but you're not going to hurt a bigger guy, and you're not going to hurt a guy with a great chin like Canelo's. And even though I believe Terence Boyd has respectable power for his size, he's got respectable skills for a boxer. Eventually, Canelo is just going to walk through them. You saw him with his hands down. He was not respecting Jermell, and I have a feeling he's not going to respect Terence, even with all of Terence's skill. It's just that size and weight difference.
Yeah, man, crazy how things change overnight. It seems like, right? But you know, I do have to say this though. I feel like Jermell was smart to take a knee because you know, he got shaken up, it seemed like, by that punch, but I feel like that taking a knee right there helped him survive. He would probably got badly hurt if he would have stayed up. He was evidently hurt. Canelo saw that, tried to jump on him, and he took that knee. But yeah, I think now Jermell obviously saying he's going back to 54. Terence Crawford obviously can go up to that weight. Seems like he doesn't want to do it for Spence, but we'll see if he would do it for a Charlo who they're saying he got stripped, right? Didn't he get stripped of one of his belts? So not sure if he will be considered undisputed anymore. I'm sure that would have been more enticing for Crawford to go to 54 and try to get all the belts and become undisputed in 3 weight classes.
Right. And the thing with Crawford is, to answer your question, Gio, I'm still kind of intrigued by it just because of that dog that has in him. But I wouldn't give him too much of a chance. You know, just based on this fight, based on that size, it's very hard to discount Canelo looking the way he did. He obviously, we asked, one of those questions was, will he get old overnight? He looked fresh as a daisy. You know, he looks great. He just reminded the audience, like, I'm still here. I'm still hungry. He said it after the fight. I still love the sport. I'm in love with the sport. And when you got a fighter like that, that's that happy, that content, he's a dangerous fighter. The only way I would want a Terence fight is if 2 other fights that the boxing world is salivating over. You know, the only way I want those fights is if those 2 fights fall through. And you know the names, Gio. So I'm gonna ask you the question: what fighter makes sense for Canelo come May 5th? Is it David Benavidez, or is it that rematch with Dimitri Bivol?
I would like to see the rematch with Bivol. Not sure how likely that is. I think the time is now. Obviously, Canelo 33. He has 65 pro fights now, I believe. This was his 60th victory, so I think 64. He has 2 draws, 2 losses. I think the time is now. I think he looks great physically. Obviously, he had been complaining about that wrist that he got surgically repaired, but I don't think it's likely against Bivol. Now he's over there with PBC. He has that deal, so I'm sure you know how they do, Chris. They like to keep things in-house. You know what's crazy is he beat up young Charlo so bad that no one wants to see him against big Charlo anymore. Like, young Charlo messed it up for himself and for his brother because I think his stock just went down that much. But, you know, Benavidez seems like he has a fight set with Andrade. They're saying his brother, Jose, is supposed to fight big Charlo. You know, not sure that there's another size disparity there, evidently, you know, but yeah, I'm not sure, man. Not sure. I don't think this version of Canelo has much trouble with Benavides. So I think that's probable. Not sure who else they have over there that they can make a fight with. I know Morrell fights on PBC, but not too many people are talking about that. So I think the fight with Benavides obviously becomes more closer to reality than just a mythical matchup. But personally, I would like to see the rematch against Bivol, but I don't think it happens on PBC.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would say David Benavides should be the next line in May 5th, or like you said, he has a tentative date. So I would want to make it interesting. I'll say the winner of Benavides versus Boo Boo should get that fight. This is one of the first times that Boo Boo's going to have a chance to like prove himself, see if he's, really as good as he thinks he is. And he's got a guy like David Benavides in the way. So I would say the winner of those two, should get that Canelo fight in May. And I'm hoping it's Benavides. We just interviewed, Joel Diaz, and he made some good points in that interview. Obviously we know the narrative with Canelo saying he doesn't want to fight Mexican fighters, that, he rather help the Mexican fighter. He doesn't want to hurt his own country mates. But Joel brought up a good point. He's all like, someone's going to beat up, the Benavides. Someone's going to beat up these Mexican fighters for far less money. So, why not help your country mate? Give him that fight, give him that paycheck. You're going to be helping, them along the way. So why not? So with that said, I would want the winner of Benavides versus, Boo Andrade to take on Canelo May 5th. I agree that Bivol is probably the more lucrative, more enticing kind of fight, but most likely it won't happen. And hopefully by, mid 2024, the dust settles, they are able to entice people with a rematch with an offer that he can't deny.
And you know what? This just kind of popped up into my mind. Don't sleep on the Caleb Plant rematch. I know he's been asking for it. I wouldn't really like to see that, but, Caleb Plant put up a good fight. He did better than most fighters. Obviously, he got stopped, but, Canelo basically hurts all his opponents. Like, that's just a fact. They either go down or get wobbled a little bit. Obviously, Bivol was one of the ones that did it. Probably Triple G the last time, even though he was older, still granite chin. But if you look at all the other guys, they either went down or got stopped. So, or ended up badly beaten. But, Plant maybe is a possibility. I'm just trying to think of names because there's not a lot over there. But, yeah, I think the winner of Andrade and Benavides, I think that puts, assuming Benavides wins, I think that puts both men in a very interesting position because now Benavides is actually getting good wins under his belt. The Plant win was good. The Andrade win to me is going to be, all right, but in the eyes of people, it's going to be really good. So marketing wise, it begins to sell the fight a little more, and I feel like that's like the peak of where Benavides gets really, unless he moves up to 75 and is able to beat some of those other guys. But yeah, I think that fight is very probable. Honestly, if I was Canelo, I wouldn't give him the fight just because of all the shit they've been talking over the years. I'd probably milk it a little more. But, at the end of the day, he calls the shots. He can fight whoever he wants. I'm sure PBC is going to be in his ear. But, Canelo's Canelo, and we're going to go through some of the comments real quickly, Chris. We're about 24 minutes in. We're going to keep it relatively short, and we'll be back either on Wednesday or Thursday to break it down a little more. I know there were some controversies there on the undercards, some nasty judging, some interesting fights there on the undercard. So we're going to try to get through some of this stuff quickly, and then we'll expand a little bit more on Wednesday or Thursday during the week. But Big Boxer 951 says King Nello stood up the whole fight. Sent a message in between rounds, Chris. He didn't sit at all.
Hey, Canelo's golden. Again, I'm just impressed with, how just strong he is. For a guy about 5'8.5", 5'9", just a bull in there, and it felt like nothing Charlo was throwing was even bothering Canelo. And they mentioned that was one of the things I want to see. Can anybody hurt Canelo? And if they do, will it show? He's got one of the A, one of the best chins in the game, and B, one of the best poker faces. The last time that we saw him hurt was when he was a kid, 1920. Jose Miguel Cotto, they mentioned that during the fight. It's like that's maybe outside of Triple G, nobody else has really hurt him, and they have, he doesn't show. He doesn't let it be known. If the audience who sees all these angles can't see it, imagine his opponent. Like it's really a great skill that he has. So we'll see if he decides to flirt with the bigger guys. If you're his manager, Gio, who do you put him in with immediately after this fight?
Well, his manager obviously is Eddie Reynoso, but they're gonna have Al Haymon in his ear, so I'm sure they want Benavides. But I try to get Bivol, like I said. I try to get Bivol, but I'm gonna go to some more comments real quickly, Chris. But also I must add, it's not only his chin, obviously, those skills, but like Joey Spencer was saying before the fight, he gave his official prediction. He was saying he's a master at rolling with the punches, so he rarely gets caught flush. So it's going to be very difficult for Canelo to get caught, 1, and 2, hurt with that type of chin and skill. Big Bro says, Charlo admittedly said not getting knocked out was a plan. His fans deserve a refund of those $85-$90 they spent on the pay-per-view. And those who went watch it live too deserve a refund. He said it should come out of his purse. What number did you hear? I know I heard any number between 10 and 20 million for Charlo.
I heard something like that. Like 10 to 14. That's what I heard.
Man, no wonder he had a smile after the fight, man. Big Bro also says those Euro bums, quote unquote, did way better than Charlo. Some are saying Charlo dared to be great. That's a lie because he never tried to win the fight. He was glad with collecting the check and not getting KO'd. Yeah, and you know what? Kind of taking it back to the Canelo haters. When Canelo went up to challenge Bivol, they said he got schooled, right? When Charlo goes up to fight Canelo, they said, oh, he dared to be great. So, the bar is always different for Canelo, and talking about haters, Chris, I think he has I just discovered he has a hater. Add this guy to the list. Much respect to him. We all like him, but Bernardo Osuna, straight Canelo hater. They had a post-fight show on ESPN in Spanish. He was with Faitelson and then another gentleman, I forgot his name. But literally an hour show, the whole time they spoke about how bad Canelo fought and how this fight was a joke and how bored the fans were and that he's falling off the pound-for-pound list. Like, they were just going in. A lot of salt on that broadcast, Chris. So add Bernardo Osuna to that hater list of Juan Manuel Marquez, Faitelson, and you got to get Bernardo up there, man.
That's interesting. I've always liked Bernardo. Obviously,
he works for ESPN, though. He has to do what he has to do. I'm not sure if he was being honest, but he was saying, yeah, you can't compare him to guys like Crawford and Inoue and stuff like that. But he works. That's who pays the bills for him. So I'm not sure he was being honest.
Yeah, if they're adding dollars to your account, then, might as well just walk into the building with the ESPN, kind of suit. A little disappointed in that. If you're talking like that, again, we all have our opinions as well. We also, even though we're journalists of the sport, we're also fans. But we know how to separate that. We know how to criticize and when not to, and when not to, just be haters. We call it how it is. So a bit disappointing on Bernardo's part. You cannot be happy with the fight. You can say a fight's not exciting, but you also cannot discount the greatness of a fighter. Like, sure that the guy was smaller, but hey, that's not Canelo's fault. This guy wanted to go up to his division, and again, it's not Canelo's fault because Canelo has also gone up. He's gone up and faced bigger guys, and he's an undersized fighter. So I don't understand the criticism there. When Canelo fought Bivol, it's something similar, but you saw Canelo take the fight to Bivol when trying, digging. Bivol, obviously a bigger guy, has just more strength. Decided just to box in the outside. Again, two similar, kind of, comparisons, but you could tell that one guy at least tried to fight. One of them actually attempted to throw punches. In this case, it was not Charlo, so I don't understand the hate. For me, one of these guys in Canelo at least attempted greatness by trying to win the fight. He came up short, but tried.
Yeah, Big Bro says Bernie lost my respect because he actually knows boxing. He would give Canelo props for a minute, and then for the next few minutes, he would say a bunch of mess about Canelo, picking his opponents, etc. Yeah, honestly, He sounded like Faitelson 2.0. He sounded like Faitelson's hype man. Bernie, he's usually very professional, when he does the English broadcast. And I had to look twice up at the screen because I just kind of had it playing in the background as I was doing stuff around here. And I was like, that is Bernardo Suna. I'm like, what? And they're like, he was just a totally different person. But to each their own. They were reading some of the live comments there. Obviously, a lot of those people they're like Faitelson, they're just going to talk smack. But there was a few people who were calling them out and saying that y'all got to support your people and stop being so negative. And then they started going in more. Faitelson was like, no, we're being honest. This fight was boring. It was bad. Canelo just cares about money and this and that. So I don't understand those people. But one guy I do respect, though, who's been kind of standing up against those type of comments is Ernesto Amador from No Puedes Jugar Boxeo. I think he made a video today saying that it was sad that people, Mexican people especially, are taking that side, of things instead of, supporting Canelo and supporting what he's done for the sport. They just want to be negative. And he was saying that it was sad to see. But, it's always going to happen. Anytime you're number one at anything, people are not going to be happy. People are going to hate. People are going to say dumb comments, but hey, if they get clicks, if they get views, if they're happy with that, then so be it. I think you need both sides of the equation for things to be a little interesting and entertaining. But hey, the ESPN, what can you expect?
Yeah, just to finish up on that note, that's a rare L for Fernando, But somebody that, in my opinion, got a big W this weekend. Another broadcaster. I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if you saw online, but our boy from HBO, he actually came back. He came back to he was doing some post-fight commentary, some pre-fight commentary. Help me with his name, Joe. I'm freaking spacing out.
Okay, Jim.
That's my bad.
Jim Lampley? Was it Jim Lampley?
From back, yeah.
Okay,
and I had heard about a month ago. I think it was with Paulie saying that he was gonna go back and do some stuff for boxing, and then if he liked it, he was gonna, wait for a call back. But it seemed like he enjoyed it. People were out there doing interviews with him. A lot of those boxing was out there interviewing like all these other people that love boxing, that love the HBO days, that love his voice, that love his just his commentary were there, and they were showing him a lot of love, and it was great to see him back there. He's a retired professor now. I think he teaches out in New York somewhere, but it was just great to see him out there. And of course, he's a lover of the game. We caught up with him the last time HBO had their show. A very emotional, just people will say he's too emotional, but that's all his love for the sport. So it was great to see him out there again. Wish I could have been out there. I would have interviewed him and stuff, but hopefully we see him down the line still being a part of boxing.
And Big Bro actually started one of his first few comments for his broadcast. He said, El Rey Canelo, greatest Mexican boxer of all time, like Jim Lampley said yesterday. So, I did see some clips of Jim back in the mix, throughout the week, and then obviously on fight night as well. So, everybody was there, Chris. A lot of these people are Canelo fans, man. They're not going to admit it, but Floyd, of course, had to be there. He also had a young fighter on the show. We can talk about it Wednesday. He also had a very awkward press conference where he went in on the reporters for not clapping for his fighter when they called his name up. And then I think he made some Canelo comments too, and then he started calling himself the greatest of all time, and didn't let his fighters speak, and it was very awkward. But that's what Floyd does, man. He just wants attention, man. He's Canelo's biggest fan, and you know he had to be there. But we'll go to some comments here in a few more minutes, and then we'll close out the show, and we'll continue this conversation midweek for the next podcast. But Big Bro said from the beginning, he let him know that he was serious, not sitting down after rounds, using the Floyd forearms to his face when Charlo hugged him. Psychologically drowned Charlo. He also talked about the ring walk, which was pretty cool to see. Santa Fe Clan. You know, that song has been very popular in recent months, and you know they got their chance to shine on the big stage. Canelo switching it up a little bit from the traditional Mexican music, but great show overall. You know, JL, it's probably Bernardo. I don't know. He's saying he fought a fourth grader and saying that Benavides needs to be next. Or maybe he works for ESPN. You never know. Big Bro also saying some comments about Joel Diaz, about Canelo's comments saying he didn't want to fight Mexican fighters. And I've heard Canelo say that. He was trying to clarify it one time, but I think he just lets people run with the narrative. But he was saying one time, like, I didn't even say that. That's not exactly what he meant. But, hey, people made it a thing. So whatever keeps them relevant, I guess.
Yeah. For me, just from this, I'm excited that Canelo, you know, still has, you know, a lot more in the tank. Again, I was like, what if he starts, you know, looking old? You know, we talked about it. He's been in the game since he was 15 years old. People usually turn pro 19, 20. You know, he's got some extra years. So I was thinking, I was like, what if he starts, you know, showing those signs? But, you know, again, he looked great. He looked in shape. He started very fast, which is something normally Canelo doesn't do. He, you know, takes 2-3 rounds to feel himself, and then he starts to tee off. He started from round one, and he wanted to go party with Santa Fe Clan, I guess, and you know, enjoy the Vegas vibes. But I'm excited. Again, you only get a few generational talents, and Canelo's one of them. And so, again, as much as you want to enjoy the moment, you have to know that the moment is one day going to be gone. And so, just enjoy the GOAT for what he is. Again, like you said, some people criticize him. I guess they want to do it for the views. I guess they want to, you know, impress their employers. I used to criticize Canelo a whole lot when he was young. You know, I think I had my valid criticism, but again, as the years go on, you're supposed to admit when you're wrong and when you're not. So as for me, Canelo, as of right now, on top, man. He's back, and a couple more years of him to enjoy.
Rojo says, what do you think of Jesus Ramos versus Lubin decision? We'll touch on it real quickly. I thought it was a robbery. Honestly, very boring fight. At times I was watching, at times I wasn't. But what I can tell you, what's a fact is Ramos outlanded him in every single category. He had more jabs. He had more power punches. He had more total punches by a wide margin. Like I said, very boring fight for both men. Zero action. But I thought Ramos was up comfortably. But it's PBC. If you look at the recent controversial fights, you know, PBC is likely up there. You know, more recent we had Rayo, who was robbed against Colbert. We saw the terrible judging. You know, shout out to your boy Alejandro Rochin. You know, on that Wilder Fury first fight. You know, Fury won like 10 rounds, but they gave it a draw. Rollies, I know, has had some controversial ones. The Jackson Marinez one stands out. So, you know, PBC is going to PBC, man. But, you know, I got to say, I'll watch the fight again before next podcast, and then we can kind of get into the scoring and all that. Chris, not sure if you have a similar opinion or if you even want to touch on that fight right now.
I'll say that for Wednesday. I'll just admit I had Ramos before the fight. I predicted that he was going to knock out Lubin, so I do have to watch that fight again. Man, you said it was boring, so I gotta rewatch it again. If there's a link out there, I'll try to find it. But I had Ramos. I expected him to knock out Lubin. I thought he did great against Joey Spencer in his last outing, so I expected more for him. So when I heard that he lost that, a decision, possible robbery, I'm like, hey, maybe you deserve to get robbed if you didn't like this guy out. I had you high, a little higher. But we'll see. We'll have more takes on Wednesday, Gio.
Yeah. And look, like I said, I'm going to watch it again. I just didn't see Lubin land anything significant the whole fight. Ramos couldn't miss with the body punches. He had the more effective punches. People have different opinions, but, Chris, we're going to do our homework. We're going to watch it again as opposed to 99% of people who are going to have a strong opinion by watching the fight just one time, right? Watching it live. So, we'll go back and watch it, and then we'll have a more definitive answer to that question. But yeah, I think if you ask 9 out of 10 people, they'll tell you that Ramos won. Like I said, it's very hard to. I think Jim Gray asked Lubin at the end of the fight, "Hey, you only landed 91 punches the whole fight. It's very low. That's less than 10 punches per round." He pretty much asked him, "How are you able to pull it off?" And he gave the same BS that boxers say, right? I box them beautifully. It's hit and don't get hit, But 91 punches and you win a fight, that's insane. What was that, 10 or 12 rounds? I think it was 12 because it was one of the little belts. That's insane. 91 punches, you win a fight. That's crazy. But yeah, we'll touch on it more Wednesday. Let me go to some comments here before we get out of here. We're 42 minutes in. Let's see. El Terrible was low-key hating. Yeah, El Terrible was throwing some shade too. Man, these guys. Yeah, I think if Canelo was making a couple million per fight, I don't think these guys would be talking so much smack. But since he's making 50, these guys want to criticize anything. But yeah, Terrible had some things to say too. And they actually teased. He said he couldn't say anything, but they actually teased that supposedly there was a Mexican who was a possible candidate to fight Canelo, which is obviously his fighter, Jaime Munguia. But I don't think that's a good idea, but hey, if it sells, I'm sure people want to see it. But yeah, Terrible also has some things to say. And Big Bro said Shakur said Lubin won. Yeah, I know Clarissa said Lubin won too. She said he put on a boxing clinic, but man, like I said,
people say that. Come on.
Right, but yeah, man, that's all I got for now. Yeah, go ahead.
I was like, what's the common factor there? Come on now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Look, but let me mention the undercard real quick, just the results. Obviously the main event, the scorecards were 119, 108, and then 118, 109 two times for Canelo. So not even close. Ugas dominated by Barrios, 117, 108, and then 118 to 107. He was dropped a couple times. He got deducted a point because he kept spitting his mouthpiece out when he was getting hurt. That eye was badly shut. That eye that Spence damaged. So, yeah, Barrios came up big. You know how I feel about Ugas. Massively overrated. And I wasn't surprised to see him lose this way. But we can touch a little bit more on that. Wednesday, not sure why they let him continue. It was sad to see. But that Barrios got the victory. Elijah Garcia got a stoppage over Armando Resendiz. That was a brawl. That was exciting. Frank Sanchez survived the scare. He was dropped early in the fight, then got a 4th round stoppage. Vostik won as well. He got a stoppage. And then Gaucher won via split decision. So a lot of good action, Chris, and we'll be back to break it all down. Not sure if you wanted to make a quick comment on any of those fights.
No, I'll say that for again, it was a stacked card. Normally don't get that in a Canelo type of fight, so it was a treat for fight fans to get a lot of names, a lot of up and comers, a lot of established fighter matches. It was a good one, man. And can't wait to break it down a little bit more on Wednesday. And yeah, just to add, I'm gonna go visit our boy Joel Diaz and see if he's got anything to say about Bozdik and Bivol and what Bivol's camp is saying to him, and if there's gonna be a push for that for either a Bozdik or a Canelo. We're pretty sure Bivol welcomes that fight. He believes in himself. He believes he could be Canelo at any weight division. So again, and the money is a byproduct, doesn't hurt. So we'll try to get some sneak peeks for Wednesday, Gio.
Yeah, and you mentioned Vivo. Vivo said before the fight, the night before the fight, he tweeted Canelo should win this fight, but he said he wouldn't be mad at Charlo winning the fight because he's interested in unifying the belts at 168. So looks like Vivo's up for the challenge at 68. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure the rematch will happen at some point, but you know they shouldn't just stand around and wait for Canelo. You know, Vivo hasn't fought in a while. You know, he's probably going to take a little stay busy fight, but these guys shouldn't wait for Canelo, man. Like, Vivo, you beat Canelo, you shouldn't beg him for the rematch, man. Y'all got to do your own thing. I know the paycheck is big. I know Charlo had a big smile at the end of the fight, but sometimes it's not just all about money, man. These guys got to fight each other, too, fight other different guys, man. People still want to see Vivo better behave, and seems like they're in no hurry to make that happen, but... yeah, we'll talk about it more on Wednesday. A lot of people had a lot to say. Obviously, Crawford, a lot of guys there after the fight. Ryan Garcia, there were some interviews with Ryan Garcia. I know Oscar De La Hoya before the fight was saying that Charlo had a good chance of winning. Obviously, that didn't happen. But yeah, we have so much more to say. We'll be back midweek. Thank you guys for tuning in. Just wanted to give you guys a quick post-fight reaction. We're about 24 hours, not even 24 hours removed from that fight. So I'm sure there's still a lot going to be a lot more updates coming up, a lot more comments, maybe more fight announcements. There's a bunch of fight announcements that happened, including Fury, Usyk, Chris, supposedly it's signed, and a whole lot more. So we'll have a lot to talk about next podcast.
Exactly, man. So, guys, thank you guys for and joining us on a Sunday. And like Gio said, we normally don't do this, but hey, man, it's the face of boxing. Stellar event, maybe the event of the year thus far, unless, like the aforementioned Tyson, Fury, and Usyk steal that later on this year. But yeah, man, dude, yeah, for me, great event, man. Great event overall for boxing.
Last comment here, Raw Dog says, staying busy keeps you sharp. Hey, that's why we hit you guys with this podcast. I'm not sure he was talking about us, but that's why we hit you with this Sunday podcast. We got to stay busy, stay sharp. So we'll be back soon, Chris.
Yeah, again, guys, thank you guys for joining on Sunday. I know you guys are probably chilling. Just appreciate it, man. Keep supporting the sport. Keep, watching these fights. I'm not going to tell you how to watch them, but, just watch them and just support them and keep following the channel. We got some up-and-coming fighters. That's something we like to highlight on our podcast channel, the up-and-coming guys, the ones that need that support. Not everybody can be Canelo from one day to another, so, they gotta pay their dues as well. So, yeah, keep supporting, man. We appreciate it.
Big Bro says, say that again, Broad Dog. And he says, what do Fulton, Spence, and Charlo have in common? I saw an image, too, PVC not keeping their guys busy, and that hurt them at the end of the day. But, we'll break it down a little bit more midweek. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe if you're not subbed. And the king of the jungle, Chris, the real lion, El Rey León, Canelo, wins again, the face of boxing. Back, I'm sure, top 2, top 3 in people's P4P list, making it look so easy. And Charlo, the complete opposite, falling off these lists with a lackluster performance, to say the least. But yeah, we'll be back soon, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go, mates. Saludos, Santa Fe Clan. Saludos. Payday. He got the payday. A madriza and a payday. Let's go, mates.
Let's go.
Michael, you already know I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco Gallo Estrada. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me.
The ropes, number one.